May 31st, 1944. A DH-98 Mosquito flies over Poland. On board this spy plane, 2 cameras are automatically triggered at regular intervals. They are photographing this site, the Nazi extermination camp of Auschwitz-Birkenau in occupied Poland. Between 1941 and 1945, 1.1 million Jews were deported there, with 860,000 of them murdered on arrival. Over 100,000 more died later, murdered or as a result of the conditions in the camp. 7 kilometers away, perfectly aligned with Auschwitz-Birkenau, the Allied plane also photographed Monowitz, the forced labor camp, and Buna, the chemical plant of the German firm IG Farben. Gasoline and synthetic rubber were manufactured there. Gasoline for German trucks, rubber for military truck tires. The Allies' aim with these photos was to bomb the IG Farben factory, but not the gas chambers, although they were so close by. Why? At the beginning of 1942, the Allied secret services knew that the Nazis were murdering Jews in killing centers. In Treblinka, Chelmno, Majdanek, Sobibor, Belzec. Some escapees reported that the Nazis also murdered at Auschwitz. They referred to Auschwitz I, because no one had returned from Auschwitz II and Auschwitz III, the 2 other camps. Yet, it was here at Auschwitz II, also known as Birkenau, that the Holocaust reached its peak, when all the other Polish camps had closed for lack of Jews left to kill. Auschwitz II was a gigantic death camp, where over 1 million people perished, mainly Jews from other European countries. Except that on April 7, 1944, 2 Slovak Jews managed to escape, Rudolf Verba and Alfred Wetzler. 2 weeks later, they were in Slovakia, where they met leaders of the Slovak Jewish Council.
Et là, il vient établir un rapport qui va circuler auprès des Alliés à l'été 1944 et qui montre d'une façon très claire et pour la première fois d'une façon très précise où se déroule l'assassinat des Juifs d'Europe à Birkenau. Autrement dit, on passe d'une information qui est on assassine des Juifs à Auschwitz, lieu vaste, un rapport très précis qui précise même la localisation de 4 des 5 chambres à gaz qui fonctionnent à l'été 1940.
Yet, despite the Verba-Wetzler report and its detailed 40 pages, appeals from Jewish organizations, and from American and British officials in favor of an air raid, the Allies did not bomb Auschwitz-Birkenau and its gas chambers. Why? First, it was difficult to know where exactly to bomb in Auschwitz. It was hard to pinpoint the exact location of the gas chambers, even with the diagram in the Verba-Wetzler report, and with this aerial photograph. Where is the entrance gate for the trains? The barracks to store the deportees' personal effects. The buildings reserved for the SS, where they carried out medical experiments on prisoners. And the gas chambers? They're not easy to locate. And what's that white smoke there? Not crematoriums. At the time of the photo, they were out of order. These are corpses being burned in the open. Before you, in 1978, 2 CIA agents analyzed these photos. Like you, they struggled to understand them, despite enlarging them and despite stereoscopic magnifiers far more sophisticated than those of the 1940s. They made several errors of interpretation in their reports. They didn't see this gas chamber, for example. Another likely misinterpretation is this legend. It says that these prisoners are on their way to the gas chambers. When they got off the train, the Jewish deportees were selected, the Nazis' term, at the center of the platform.
Autrement dit, une fois que les gens ont subi la sélection et sont envoyés vers les chambres à gaz, ils passent par la Hauptstrasse, autrement dit la grande voie qui longe la rampe. Si on compare cette photo aérienne avec la procédure normale, alors ça ne colle pas avec la procédure normale et on est sans doute face à un groupe de travailleurs.
On top of the difficulty of interpreting these images, the Allies in 1944 had another problem, a technical one. At the controls of these flying fortresses, loaded with basic bombs, how could one target the pinpricks that were the gas chambers at an altitude of 20,000 to 30,000 feet, 6 to 9 kilometers, and a speed of 500 kilometers per hour?
On a very good day with very good weather and little or no German opposition, sometimes they could hit small targets from the air, but it usually meant only 2 or 3% of the bombs actually fell on the target. 97% or more fell around the whole countryside around it.
But why not at least bomb the railroads to stop the deportation trains?
The problem there was it's very hard to cut a rail line and keep it cut. Repair crews come along and put tracks back in, and maybe there's a couple of days or a few days where there's a break.
As we've just seen, bombing is very complicated. For the Allies, the most important thing was to win the war. In this fight to the death against the Third Reich, the fate of civilians was often relegated to the background, so diverting military resources to save Jewish civilians was not a priority.
La question de la solution finale, la compréhension même du sort qui attend les Juifs est difficilement intelligible dans une guerre qui est extrêmement violente. Vous avez des millions de morts civiles à travers l'Europe et pas uniquement, en Afrique du Nord également, en Asie, etc., etc.
And even if the Allies had struck, there's reason to believe that this wouldn't have stopped the final solution.
This a furnace for burning the corpses.
Because there was more to the final solution than sending Jews to the gas chambers.
Dans l'idée des nazis, la solution finale, c'est la destruction du principal ennemi du Troisième Reich, à savoir le juif. Autrement dit, c'est la réalisation d'un but de guerre. Tuer les juifs, c'est se donner le moyen de gagner la guerre en se débarrassant du plus puissant ennemi des Allemands, les Juifs.
The deportation of Hungarian Jews, which began on May 15, 1944, illustrates this. The Gendarmerie, Hungarian fascists, the Arrow Cross, and the SS deported over 430,000 Hungarian Jews to Auschwitz-Birkenau. Meanwhile, the Allies were already in Sicily and France. The Red Army arrived at the gates of Budapest on December 1944, where the Arrow Cross was ruling with Hitler's support. Rather than focusing on defending the city, the Hungarian fascists first executed more than 25,000 Jews.
Ça permet d'expliquer une chose, mais qu'on va retrouver en France, à l'ouest jusqu'à l'est, Budapest ou dans d'autres lieux, c'est que l'objectif des Allemands ou des collaborationnistes qui sont sur la même ligne qu'eux, c'est de tuer les Juifs. Alors, bombarder Auschwitz, mais ça n'aurait strictement rien changé, puisque les nazis auraient continué à tuer les Juifs, comme ils l'ont fait jusqu'au bout de la guerre.
On January 27, 1945, the Red Army liberated Auschwitz. Soviet soldiers discovered piles of corpses and only 7,000 survivors. As they fled, the Nazis destroyed the gas chambers to conceal their crimes. For your reference, you can find more reading material in the description below the video.